All right. What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. This is day 3 at Namm 2020. We return with Ryan of Immonolith. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Appreciate it. Glad to be back and good to catch up.
Yeah, and it's like deja vu, drinking with Meshuggah the night before we do an interview,
Why do I do that to myself? That's the question I ask every morning after a night at Namm. But you know what? It's good times and it's good to see friends, catch up and do all that stuff. But it's hard.
Those guys make Pantera look like a gospel choir.
Well, it's hard to stop at one because you're having so much fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's good times.
You do as many shots as Blast Beast that Tomas Haig brings. But the last time we spoke, Hollow was the latest single by Imonolith, but you just announced the title for the album, State of Being, and you have this other single, Instinct, out. So now that the album title's been announced, you just want to give like a rundown on how the making of this whole album was, the recording and all that?
Sure. It was interesting because Brian and I from Devin Townsend Project, we'd been writing music for this band since 2015. Because we always knew at some point Devin would stop it, because that's what he does with his different things, right? He always likes to change things up. And so that opportunity came 2018. We had most of a record written, but then once you filled out the band, and especially John, he came and he helped with some of the writing as well. And it all formulated that way. Then when we got in the studio, we ended up getting my brother, Jay Van Poederoin, who's recorded bands like Simple Plan, Nickelback, like A-list bands, right? He knows how to get amazing sounds. We got him in there, and we did something really interesting with this record. And that's, we didn't want to use samples, we didn't want to use DIs or anything like that, because we envisioned like a big sounding record, but with actual raw sounds, And it's what we envisioned. We wanted to try something different, and we did it, and it sounds incredible. It's like my favorite drum sound ever. It's amazing, right? So we recorded drums at 2-inch tape. It's like it's all mic, no samples at all, nothing, no replacements. Same with guitars, it's amps and cabs, mic'd. It's all done that. John, no auto-tune, none of that stuff.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't. He's seriously talented, incredible vocalist. So that's how we did the album, and it's 10 hard-hitting tracks. There's an intro on the record as well, and really, really excited. Pre-order was started on January 10th. And that's going awesome. We have a tour coming up, our first tour, headlining tour, crazy, in Europe, UK and Europe, and that starts on March 27th as well. Yeah.
What I've noticed is I remember last year when I asked you, you said that Hollow was one side of Imonolith. Yep. There's many different sounds. Was it like a preconceived idea to make a record that incorporated many different elements?
Yes. 100%. It's like we didn't want to just do one thing. We all have different musical backgrounds, so one to make it super interesting, right? And sure, we're a metal band, but Hollow, the whole album, we didn't want it to sound like that. That was just one side. There's other songs, like there's a song called The Rain, which is just crushing the whole way through. And then we got a song Persevere, which it's a little bit different from everything that I just mentioned. So yeah, we just. The goal was to write good songs. It wasn't that we were trying to be like one of my favorite bands, Faith No More. They're all over the map and they pull it off well. It wasn't like we were trying to be like that where we just want to try and do a million different things. We just wrote songs. And we're like, as long as the song is good, it doesn't matter from what influence we pull from. As long as the song's good, that's all that we cared about. So that's what this album is. It's all about writing the best songs we could, and that we thought were great. So,
as a drummer, do you need music before you lay down the rhythm and the beat, or do you sometimes have like a drum pattern written and maybe music will be laid over that?
It's interesting because we've written songs around some of my drum beats, and then there's other times where obviously the riff is there and then you put a beat to it. So it doesn't matter to me. Like when I write, because Beav and I primarily wrote the whole record, and there were a couple songs where other members were involved, but when I write, it could start off with a drum beat, or it could be a guitar riff. It doesn't matter. I don't need anything for me to be creative with that. If the riff or the melody or anything like that moves me, it's easy for me to write to, right? So definitely it doesn't have to be any way, any specific way for me to get out the beats that I do. Yeah.
When it comes to playing live versus, like playing in the studio or practice space, is like the strategy or method of execution or energy completely different?
It is, and it's not because it's live. Or you're playing live. It's like I got to be better. Like when I rehearse, I want to be as on top of it as I am when I'm live. But when you get on that stage, the energy is just different. You're playing in front of people, so yeah, it's more intense. It's awesome, right? It's a rush. That's what I live for. It's like I can't wait to get back on tour, right? So I always make an effort, whether I'm rehearsing or playing live, to play awesome. That's always a goal. That's just who I am, right? But there's no denying it. When live kicks in, you add that energy on top of it. I hit a little harder, It's like I still want to play a great show. Sometimes I'll even improvise a little bit more just because you're feeling it, There's that energy. So, yeah, live's a different beast altogether, but I always make an effort to always, play the same thing or be on top of it, whether it's rehearsal, studio, live, doesn't matter.
And the final question I wanted to ask you, which I didn't get to ask you last year, my favorite question to ask every artist because it's always the hardest question. Oh, okay. And being that you played with a Prague band for so long, I feel like this is appropriate. How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, shit. You had to go there, right? You know what? I think I know when a song's done is when I can listen to it and I have that smile on my face of completion. I'm just like, okay, this makes me move and I feel good about it, because you could tweak endlessly for eternity on a song going, oh, that chorus could be better, whatever. But when I hear it and I can do this from start to finish, that's usually the sign to me. It's like if I'm into it and I can groove to it and it puts a smile on my face, that's when I know to stop. Don't overdo it, because we have done that. There's a quick little story for you. There's a song called Becoming the Enemy on the record. And the original way we wrote it is how it ended up on the record. But we went down that rabbit hole, exactly what you're talking about. And we tried to write a new verse. We tried to write a new midsection. All this. We even brought in, other members of the band because Beav and I wrote the whole song. But in the end, everyone said the original version is the best way to go. So we went back to the 2015 version, which was one of the first songs we wrote together. And we did it. And that's a prime example of, trying to fix it, it's not always going to be the best thing. If it's there, you dig it, you smile, you're happy with it, let it be and move on. You know what I mean? And so there's a good example of that, right? So
fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. That was actually a very good, elaborate answer. It's a lot of people just say when I get the final mix back.
Yeah. You know what? That's the thing is like final mixes and stuff. I actually don't even want to listen to them. I'm just like, or the mixing process. Obviously, the final mix I want to hear, but the mixing process, I leave it to the engineer. I'm like, when you're done, hand it, so then I can't go back on anything, because mixing's the worst. That's where you can really dig a hole, right? So, yeah, exactly.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today. State of Being is coming out very soon, and then you have this tour coming up. Is there anything else you'd like to promote? Could we be expecting? I know you're doing Europe. Could we possibly expect you to hit North America?
USA, North America. That's the next goal. So we're getting our booking agents looking at different opportunities that could possibly happen. So we're working on that. We want to bring this everywhere. We have supporters in Australia, Japan, South America. We'd love to get to all those places, but we're a brand new band, so it all comes down to support and pre-order the album. It's out now, so it'll be interesting to get that to as many places as possible. For any of you guys that are interested, Imonolithband.com. You go there, pre-orders up, they can order the album, buy tickets to our shows wherever we're playing around the world. It's awesome. We're doing a limited vinyl release, CDs, there's obviously the download too, and tons of merch. So there's that happening. We're going to tour everywhere, and thanks so much for the support from guys like you. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
From all of our supporters, thank you so much, and see you on tour.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. Everybody, Ryan of Imonolith, State of Being, coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for Namm 2020. We'll see you next time.